Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing No Man's Sky, the next update on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. I'll be doing 1080p, 900p and 720p. To skip turn up those sections of the video, check the timestamps down in the description. So recently No Man's Sky got a huge update, which is what I'm testing right now, since a lot of you guys requested this. There has been a lot of improvements to the game, including some of the graphics here and there. The testing will be on the G4560 first on 1080p, targeting 30 frames per second. Then I'll show you 720p resolution, trying to get 60 frames per second, so you can have an idea on how the G4560 performs trying to target 30 with higher resolutions, and how it does trying to get 60s at lower resolutions and medium settings pretty much. After that, I'll show you the i3-8100 on 1080p, 900p and 720p, but that time around it will be showing you two configurations. First of all, trying to get 60 frames per second, which will mean most of the time almost the lowest settings, and then I'll just crank up the settings, trying to stay over 30 frames per second. On 1080p it won't be ultra settings, because ultra settings drops below 30 frames per second, but on 900p and 720p, yeah, it will be max settings. My testing methodology will be going into the same planet, so I'll just fly into the planet very quickly, land, and then just roam around a little bit. I tried to look for a planet that had a ton of foliage, so there's a lot of vegetation on screen. That's usually what destroyed performance for me. That's why I'm testing this specific place. Some other planets don't have as much vegetation or effects going on, so expect mixed results. This should be close to the worst case scenario, and unfortunately in the options menu there are not a huge amount of options that make a big difference in performance. The biggest one so far was lowering reflection quality. With that one I didn't see a huge difference visually. Then the shadow detail can help, but it wasn't a huge difference. Usually from ultra to medium there is a difference, but from medium to low it was almost the same. And on the anti-aliasing option we have FXAA, TAA low, then TAA standard, and finally TAA plus FXAA. My recommendation here is to use TAA instead of TAA plus FXAA. In my opinion, those two combined didn't look that good on this game. And one thing that I really like that they added was the motion blur amount. So if you like a heavier use of motion blur, you can increase it. If you don't like motion blur to be that aggressive, you can lower it. And finally, the HBAO option is the ambient occlusion. It had an impact in performance, but it was like 3 to 5 frames. So I recommend enabling this if you want a more immersive experience, because without it, the game looks very flat. That's usually what ambient occlusion helps the most with. So yeah, that's why I recommend enabling it, but that's just my opinion. I tried with a better CPU, an i5-8400, but I didn't notice a huge difference with the GPU usage. In some parts, the GPU usage can drop into the high 80s, which by itself isn't a huge deal if you ask me. Usually below 80% GPU usage is when I get worried, but in this case, even with a better CPU, it was pretty much the same. It dropped to 80 to 90% usage. There seems to be a thing with the game, but with the G4560 compared to the i3-8100, there's a difference, especially when trying to land into a planet. So yeah, with the i3 there is less stutter when moving around. Other than that, the game is completely playable on both CPUs. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.